All right. Well, I think that we've got most everybody in the room here today, and so it's exciting to be able to have such an incredible group with us. And looks like we've got about 90 people here with us. So welcome to the first gathering of all of our different 21st century talent regions. And so many of you are a part of regions that have been designated already, and then many of you are a part of regions that are in the process of reaching that milestone. And so it's just really exciting to be able to once again celebrate the work that you all have put into gathering some incredible momentum across your regions, and being able to bring together from so many different community stakeholder groups, different community organizations to think about how we are attracting, developing, and connecting talent. And this has been such a fascinating journey that we're so thankful that you all have joined us for, and are continuing to join us in the learning that we're having all along the way as we look at how we cultivate relationships, how we then all are able to partner and collaborate at deeper levels to be able to ensure that we're hitting those goals that we're setting for ourselves around growing the population, increasing our education attainment levels, and ultimately being able to connect people to opportunity, to grow the economic and social capital in many different ways across our communities through that connection point, and looking at how we're increasing people's access to opportunity throughout. And so we've got I think an exciting day planned ahead, and a huge thank you to Civic Lab and to the 21st Century Talent Region and Indiana Talent Network team that we've spent some time over the past few, probably 3 to 4 months, thinking about how we bring all this together. And as many of you, I think, probably feel this, that I was just reading in President Daniels's open letter to everyone from across the Purdue community about being Zoom zombies, and feeling a bit like the last 9 years that we lived in 2020. So we want to certainly be mindful of the fact that everybody spends a lot of time on Zoom, and so wanted to make today as interactive as possible, so that you're able to spend some time with all of your partners that you have been able to grow such tremendous momentum with already. And so each of our sessions are designed to be as engaging as possible. So we're going to be looking for you to have feedback throughout. And as many of you know, it wouldn't be a kickoff to things if we, with having either the fortune or the bad luck of me involved, that certainly want to encourage people to have some physical activity throughout the day. So if you need to turn your screen off for a moment to go walk around or just move about a little bit, then absolutely encourage you to do that, because we want to keep the blood flow and keep the conversation fresh throughout. And we've built in some breaks throughout, so that then you're not just stuck behind your computer for the bulk of the day. We, again, just want this to be a really valuable experience for all of us to be able to think about kind of what comes next for some of the milestones that we've set for ourselves. And hopefully you've had a chance to look at the materials that we've sent out throughout, of kind of where your region is at. Hopefully you've been continuing to engage with things that you've identified on your dashboards as far as priorities that are being set in your region. And so just kind of a quick overview of what we're gonna look at today. And then we'll jump into the actual meat of things. That our first session is going to be with the Civic Lab team about cultivating collaborative and equitable relationships to drive talent attraction, development, and connection. And so very excited to have Civic Lab lead this conversation, as well as a conversation early this afternoon that's going to look a little bit more towards some of the quantitative side of things. So this first session this morning is thinking a little bit more of the qualitative aspect of the work, and then this afternoon early part is going to be more of sort of that quantitative aspect of looking at how we're utilizing our dashboards and data to accomplish the goals that we've set for ourselves. And again, this is all meant to be as interactive as possible, and hopefully then as valuable for you as possible, so that it's tailored to your region, because we have so enjoyed getting to work with all of you in getting to know your regions, the nuances of some of the economic dynamics, some of the different relationship dynamics, the different assets that you have. And so we want to continue along that spirit. And therefore, we'll have opportunities for each of your regions to do some interactive work within your stakeholder groups. And so hopefully you came prepared to have some of those conversations. And if not, then the amazing way that Civic Lab has of being able to get the thoughts flowing and inspiring people to follow some seeds that get planted by things that they may plant or other regions that you may be hearing from today, I think will help get those juices flowing as well. So that's going to be a part of both the morning session as well as the afternoon for folks to have those kinds of interactive experiences within your regions. And then later, the last kind of session that we're going to have today will be a breakout across the attraction, development, and connection spheres. And very thankful to have some experts from our team here within the state government, that PJ McGrew is going to be leading the talent development team. Secretary and CEO of the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, Elaine Beadle, is going to be leading the talent attraction section. And I'm going to be able to connect up with the folks looking at talent connection. So very excited about having, again, interactive conversations that are going to happen in that last breakout group. And then you'll hear more about the folks that are a part of our keynote speech at the beginning of their discussion. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that right now. And ultimately, just really want to thank you for all of the incredible work that you have put into serving Hoosiers and getting individuals connected up with opportunity thus far. We hope that today is going to be a chance for you and your team to dig into some of that work that you've already done, and then think about how do we connect up and move further along that spectrum, particularly paying attention to those goals that you identified as a part of receiving the designation as a 21st century talent region. And so we have a collection of all of those goals for each of the regions so that it's tailored to meet your needs, and hopefully we can continue to come alongside you in being able to realize those goals that are all surrounding growing our population, education attainment levels, and economic mobility as we measure it by either median household income or per capita personal income. And so I don't want to drone on too much today. I just wanted to kick us off by giving you a little bit of an overview of what the day is going to look like. And thank you for your participation, all of your incredible service that has brought us to this point. And we'll be following up throughout the day, and then certainly afterwards with then some.
When I unplug it.
We may need to have make sure everybody's muted themselves, but so we will follow up with everybody afterwards in a way that's hopefully convenient for you to be able to gather some feedback from you on how this day went, and some of the pieces that you and your teams arrived at, and how we're going to move to next steps. So with that, then I'm going to ask Jack Hess from Civic Lab to kick us off with our first session, and we'll go from there. So thank you, and Jack, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy New Year. Can you hear me okay? Blair, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Great. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. First off, we just want to say hello from the Civic Lab team, who's going to facilitate several sections on today's agenda. One prior to our keynote and in the midday, and then one after. So on the line, we have myself, Jack Hess, my also co-founder with Civic Lab, John Burnett. He can wave. I don't know if you'll be able to see him, depending on what your grid view is. And then behind the scenes, helping us direct all the action is Amber Fishfo. So we thank them. John will be on in just a moment to help me facilitate some questions. And Amber is manning the chat. So if you have any kinds of issues, technical or otherwise, just general questions about the program, you can always feel free to jump on the chat and send Amber a note. So again, welcome. And I want to get right into the program. Rachel has dropped in to the chat a Dropbox link, and the materials that you'll need throughout the day can be found there. And what you'll find is you'll find the agenda. You'll also find some things that are really based upon those regions that have actually received designation, the goals that you stated out. And we'll have more on that in just a moment. But also for those regions who achieve designation, there are your ecosystem, which are stakeholder maps of people and organizations, as well as your dashboard, which is a collection of projects around attracting, developing, and connecting talent. So you can find all of those materials there. We will drop that link in one more time, because I know those of you who stepped in prior to when the link has been actually delivered to the chat wouldn't see it yet. So if Rachel wouldn't mind, she'll drop it in just one more time for those who are newly joined to us. And you should see the link that way if you just arrived. But you will need the materials, and please feel free to access that Dropbox link. Also, I know some of you may have, because you might be behind a firewall, you may have some trouble accessing Dropbox, especially larger institutions, universities, and so forth. If that's the case, please just, again, let Amber know, and we'll see if we can't deliver those via email. Now, one of those documents that there is actually the designated 21st Century Talent Region regional goals. And we have the list for each of the designated regions to date, as well as the goals that were actually stated in your proclamation, which was one of your pieces that you submitted for the designation itself. And if it's okay, I'm going to kind of just pull our network out on that, which is found here in the second one, and just hold that up as an example. So we're going to ask you this morning to actually start, as you do in any new year, thinking about the goals that you've got. These are your resolutions that you've already committed to, but now's the perfect time at the start of the year just to remind yourself what these actually were. So for us, the Echo region, we identified 3 particular goals that we said are going to be essential to us and kind of in moving forward. So first thing we're going to ask your team to do when we get you in breakout is to pull up your regional goal and review that. It'd probably be a good idea if you might nominate someone to actually read it, just so everyone can be refamiliarized with what the committed goals actually were. With those goals in mind, we're then going to ask you to open up the second document, which is your ecosystem map of stakeholders. And also your dashboard. But we're only going to use the ecosystem for this particular portion of the program. Your ecosystem map, for those, again, who have designation, looks something like this. For those newly forming regions who haven't created this document, all this is a stakeholder map that's been organized with really those stakeholder organizations and projects that are working on talent attraction in the bottom left, which is really about increasing population. Talent development, which is top center, which are those organizations and institutions committed to education. And then you've got talent connection, which are all of those kind of backbone organizations and those entities which work to try to connect actual talent to employers, to economic and civic opportunity. And in the middle, that sits at the middle of that Venn diagram, that's usually the smaller guiding team that's really accepted responsibility for the talent system as well. So it's an ecosystem map of stakeholders, of people that answers the question, who is working on talent attraction, development, and connection. So for those of you who have it, we want you to refer back to that so you'll have a visual of that. And for those who don't, you can at least begin thinking about the various stakeholders that each fulfilled those roles. So if you think about your goals and you think about the relationships, that's going to be the first part of the morning. It's a qualitative look at collaboration. And when we get to John, who I'm going to introduce here in just a moment, he's going to give you some guiding questions to think whose relationships are really going to matter most coming up in the next 12 months in 2021 in order to actually achieve or at least start to make progress on the stated goals. So it's who can help us most achieve and excel at the goals that have been stated. So you're going to combine those two things together, the goals and then those critical relationships that it's going to take to actually make those happen. So again, there should be a Dropbox link. You should see those two critical documents. It's great to start with the goals, read those, familiarize yourself with that, and then turn and look at your stakeholder map. If you're a newly forming organization that hasn't received designation yet, that would be a good time to go immediately right into the guiding questions, which will start to ask you the questions that will kind of get to your stakeholders, if you will. So that's your assignment for today. Whose relationships are going to matter most in moving your 21st century talent region goals forward and ahead? So it's at this time I'm going to introduce my colleague, John Burnett. He's going to take you through the guiding questions that we're going to use in our breakout session. And he's also at the end going to reconvene us and then produce some report outs among the group itself. So with that, John, would you please take it away?
I will, Jack. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. And while I can't see most of you right now because we've got the slide up, I'm very grateful for all the work that you do each day, and also truly impressed at all the work that's happening across the state of Indiana in both the currently designated and soon to be designated regions around the state. So thank you for all your great work. As Jack indicated, and as Blair did earlier, really to this morning's session, so we're not going to be talking at you much, really only for a few minutes. Mostly we're giving you time to have a conversation among the stakeholders in your particular region with respect to, in this case, the relationship piece around really looking at those of you that have gone through the designation, you've got your goals, and then also thinking about the future here over 2021. And for those of you who are pursuing designation, I've got a slightly different thought for you here in just a minute. So the questions that you see before you, and please don't think that you have to take these questions in order. They're here to serve as a guide for you. But at the highest level, as Jack's already indicated, it's really about how might the relationships that you've been forming, these terrific relationships, assist you in sustaining the work of your team and region with respect to talent attraction, talent development, talent connection, as you focus on long-term equitable outcomes and with the stakeholders whom you serve. And you can see parenthetically, really encouraging strategies because we have had the good fortune of working with all of you, thinking about from the people of color and also low-income families, particularly during this challenging time, some specific strategies that relate to goals in your specific regions. And the three questions that we have outlined here, pretty simple, require a lot of thought, a lot of discussion, really about thinking about the stated goals. You know, what are those current, as Jack has indicated, 5 to 7 relationships that you need to further strengthen? And then are there some additional relationships that can be added to your stakeholder group as you move forward? And then following up at the end about next steps. What we envision happening here in just a couple of minutes is that each of your respective teams will be going out into breakout rooms. And I believe there are 11 or 12 of them, given the size of the group, and most of the regions were able to be here today. So that's terrific. You're going to go into your breakout rooms earlier this week, thanks to the kind of point people, the leaders that have been involved in the 21st century work from the initiation of it in each of your regions. They've agreed to help facilitate the conversation using these questions. And really the purpose is for you all to have a conversation. So we're going to take about 30 minutes for you to spend time, and we're right on time, so we're doing great. About 30 minutes in conversation regarding these questions in the breakout rooms. And then when you come back, and Amber will admit everybody back in. You'll be back in this main room. And what I will do at that point is ask for some of you to share some highlights about the conversation that you had. And also, if you have any questions along the way, while we may not be able to answer all of them during this particular segment of the day, if you pop those into the chat, then we can gather those up as the CCT/Civic Lab team, and we will do our best to address those questions either in real time or as we review them and see what we might do to continue to help you. So with that, I'm going to actually ask one more quick note. I was looking at my notes here. For the newer regions that don't have that specific goal listing already established, just think about the overarching goals that brought you to the decision to actually apply for designation, and think about those goals as they relate to attraction, development, connection, and in that vein, focus on these questions. Last thing before we go out into the breakout rooms, there is the opportunity, if you so choose, to ask us for help. Our team will stay at the main level here in this room, but there actually is a button when you go into breakout that says ask for help. And so if you click that button, one of us will be happy to assist you as well. Okay, everyone, we'll get started in just a second. For those of you who do this a lot, you already know it's kind of cool to see all these faces popping back into a room. So welcome back. Glad you came back. That's always a test. Let's give it about one more minute. Unless, Amber, you tell me everybody's back. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. One of the challenges of doing this work when you're trying to see how things are going, unless we popped into your respective breakout rooms, we really have no idea the conversations that you held. So this is an opportunity to hear from you and also share with your colleagues from around the state some of your discussion regarding the goals that you have, you perhaps had. Some of us were reflecting on the fact that in Northeast Indiana was the first designated region, and that happened, we're getting into a couple of years ago now. So things continue to change. And then the more recent, if you looked at the actual sheet of goals, you could also see that there's a kind of a progression of maturity really around goal setting as well. So grateful to each of you. What we'd like to do is just take a few minutes here for those of you who are willing, and I know a lot of you, so you're not shy. If you would be willing to share a highlight or two of conversations. We don't necessarily have to call on everyone, although if no one speaks, this is the interactive portion of this session, and I will call on people that I know and could trust to help me out here. So wonder if you have any reflections. You could go off mute, or if you are shy, you could pop something into the chat as well. So who would like
I'd
to?
be happy to start, John.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
So one of the things that we found that we talked about that I thought was pretty profound was that we create an awful lot of opportunity, but we don't necessarily do a good job about invitation to that opportunity and making people feel invited to that opportunity. And oftentimes the people in the inner circle know about it, but the people that really might need the service don't know about it. So in our list, we created folks that we really need to build relationships with in order to get those invitations out in a more grassroots level. And I feel like, the Urban League and the United Ways, as well as the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA, and really divining ways to get into those organizations where the opportunities that we have could be more inviting to the people that truly need them. And then we also talked on making sure that the things that we're measuring are consistent, and that we're all agreeing on the metrics as well, so that we're continuing to produce meaningful results that everybody can continue to measure and really be impactful on the community.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Heather. Really appreciate that. If you think about what you just shared, and we've had these conversations over the last several years, and in our case, the last couple of decades, really the words to, for, and with. Are we doing things to people? Are we doing things for people? Are we doing things with people? And the more we can do things with people, the better off we all are. So I really appreciate those comments. And
Just
wow.
a quick note,
Yep.
Heather, and you're from the Northwest Indiana region. We had that question in the chat. So as you report out, you might just state, which region you're with. And it looks like Bethany has raised her hand. So I'm going to assume that means you're willing to go next.
Yes, good assumption, Amber. Hi, everyone. I'm Bethany Hartley. I'm with the South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership, which is the South Bend Elkhart region. And we had a great conversation. Our goals were really tied to, similar to what Heather said, with the getting the message out, having some accessible resources through a digital platform, and then also infusing diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout everything we do. So the good news is we've been making progress on those goals, and even before we were designated, those were priorities for our region. We also looked at how might we, similar to what Heather said as well, how might we create more of a connection, cohesion across our region. We have 5 counties, 47 communities that all have more of those, again, grassroots organizations that are doing really great work. So how can we make sure that's accessible to everyone that wants to be interested in it? And how are we leveraging the brand we created over the last year for our region to not only attract the talent, but encourage community pride with the talent that's from here and getting them to stay here. So we have some really great ideas to move forward on strategies around these goals that we think are aligned with the overall work that we've been doing in the region. So very excited about that, and building out, bringing this, we were calling it a honeycomb, our chart, to life, and bringing it into a usable format for the greater good.
Yeah, well said, and thank you. And I won't necessarily remark with everyone. Like to see who might like to go next. That was terrific.
John, it's Laura Lee. I can
Yep.
talk about what we discussed for East Central Indiana.
Sure.
So we're at a different level of participation. We're at the very beginning of designation. So we talked about 2 really important pieces, and that is, how do we grow the relationships organically? And we believe that can be done through magnet meetings, is what we call it. So create topics that are so attractive that people want to attend, and that's where we hope our relationships will gather willing participants, as you might say, John, so that we have good, high quality content, and that's how we believe that our regional coalitions will stand up. The other piece, as it relates to diversity and equity and inclusion, we want to conduct a mapping exercise to identify areas of inequity, and then overlay our goals to that data, and how do we address that. And so today we're not exactly sure across the region where the inequities are. And so having a mapping exercise, we believe, will bubble up things that we need to address. So keep me honest, group. Hopefully I captured all of that in a very short synopsis.
That was great. Thank you, Laura Lee. Yeah, magnet meetings. I like that. And then mapping is so important, making the invisible visible, as we've discussed many times before. So thank you. Who'd like to go next?
Hi, John.
Hi, Tina.
Oh, Tina, you go ahead.
Oh,
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to jump on top of somebody else there. First of all, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. The last year has been a difficult one for us to convene people around topics like this one. And so we were excited to be together today as a group. And we really took the time to talk about whether or not we still felt like our goals were the right goals. And whether or not we felt like how aggressive we needed to be. We have a goal of growing post-secondary attainment by 10% in what would be a relatively short period of time, and really we're trying to decide if we felt like that was a realistic goal, not community by community, but certainly as an average across our region. And so that's a conversation we're going to continue to have. We talked about who else needed to be around the table as we intended to, and even greater emphasis, I think, after what we've learned in the last year around social services being at the table and well represented, making sure that we're thinking about those folks that sometimes we don't think about as part of our talent, our key talent organizations, but tourism, right? And being very focused on attraction as well as the development component of this work, for sure. And then finally, we just spent a little bit of time reminding ourselves what assets we each have to bring to the table and how we need to be very systematically, or maybe systemically too, deploying those assets across our entire region. And so it was really just a good moment for us to regroup and to rethink about what we need to accomplish as a region, and to reaffirm we feel like we have the right goals at the moment.
nice. Thank you. Everybody's raising their hand, so we're going to keep moving. Let's see. Ryan, you've got your hand up, and then Andy, were you wanting to go as well? So Ryan, maybe from Northeast Indiana.
Yeah, so thanks, Ben. Ryan Twist from Northeast Indiana. We were the first region designated. The point in mentioning that is when we came into it, we've had community-wide, region-wide goals around talent, wages, and population for a number of years. So when we came into our designation, those were already established. We are the Regional Economic Development Organization and serve as the regional convener. But I think we found pretty quickly, and we haven't been secretive about this, that we were intermediaries among intermediaries. And so to kind of Heather's point, I think we've struggled, or we immediately were struggling to get the people who did the real work at the table. It was more the people who might have convened the other people who did the work at the table. So in terms of having and really activating this to make meaningful impact for people and people's lives, this was more of sort of the I don't know if you want to call it the choir preaching to each other. So quickly we realized and started trying to work within our specific counties. So we would identify a county organizer and sort of play the role of Civic Lab and go in and convene workshops within our individual counties to get a sense of the boots on the ground, who's actually doing the work, who is interacting directly with people, because we're more of a business to business organization as opposed to a business to customer organization in a lot of ways. That had a huge wrench thrown into the spokes through COVID. So we were making some headway and getting into a lot of our 11 counties. We've done a couple of virtual workshops, which have gone well, but it's really hard to wrap both the stakeholder mapping and the dashboard workshop into one. So we've had a little more success with stakeholder mapping. But I think as far as relationships, we just need to continue moving forward in our counties through our local organizers, and then working with them to identify who are the right folks that are actually doing that work around attraction, development, and connection within the counties, and getting a sense of that. So that's sort of a struggle that we've dealt with, an attempted solution, and then an additional struggle.
Yeah, thank you. I'm often reminded, and I have to remind myself of this, the people who are closest to the beneficiaries of the system are often left out, and the beneficiaries themselves. It goes back to the 2-4 with comment. So really appreciate that. I think Andy, and then Bob.
Sure, and I'll be kind of quick. My name is Andy Terrell. I'm with the Southern Indiana region designation. We are the 6 counties just across from Louisville, Kentucky, and we actually have a fairly unique application in that we are including Jefferson County and the resources from Louisville in our map. We have a lot of people driving back and forth across the river to work. And so we felt we do have a bi-state agreement with Kentuckiana Works, our partners over in Louisville. So we're really happy to be able to provide that. We're not designated yet. We're kind of maybe 2/3 of the way through our process. So we used our time today really to kind of brainstorm about the goals, what we want to achieve. And so I've got a list. And so that when the next time that we all meet, the entire committee meets, we can kind of go over, but we're looking at things like median wage increases, population growth. I like to say 4.5 of our counties in our 6 counties region in Southern Indiana Works is rural. Half of one county has a really large city or town in it, and then the rest of it's pretty much farmland. So that's a big thing about population growth and things like that. Then we kind of started talking a little bit more about our ecosystem map. We identified a few more agencies, organizations, especially in Jefferson County, that would fit within that. So we're moving on, and hopefully we would like to be done with our process within the next few months. So we're really looking forward to it. And this is great. We really appreciate being here today.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for speaking up as a in-process part of our state. Really appreciate that. See, Bob, Hamilton County.
Absolutely. My name is Bob Dubois, Hamilton County. We spent most of our time talking about our goals, and do we in fact have the right goals? I think we came to the conclusion that we need to add a 5th goal to our mix and perhaps shift some of our goals around a bit based on work that we've done in the past year. Some of that, a number of things bubbled up. Some was that we have some gaps in our ecosystem, and so we're going to do a full evaluation of our ecosystem map. We have some new partners that have come to the table from Marion County and some surrounding areas. Something that we noticed that was missing, and it's kind of come up in some of the other groups, is some of the missing partners, the United Ways, the people that are dealing with some of the social services and some of the quality of life organizations. We seem to have housing is a significant issue here for us in Hamilton County, and it's a real challenge in a number of different ways. Our challenges are different than lots of other counties, but we need some other partners at the table to address some things. Something that came out of this past year that is going to be it's an obvious barrier for lots of communities, but we weren't addressing technology at all, and we've kind of come to the conclusion that we can't advance our talent development efforts or even our new work from home requirements without really rethinking technology in our county. And so we need to bring some partners to the table that might help us evaluate how we are building that infrastructure, and then also the access to that technology platform for learning, for working, and for just quality of life along the way. We have a significant effort with a company called TMAP that has really evolved over the past year and is going to be a premier line of work for us. And so we want to make sure that that's called out in our goals and is better represented on our dashboard as well. We did talk a bit about our dashboard having some ability to better utilize that data as a learning tool, as a public policy advancement tool, kind of how it was set up to be, but be able to show, as opposed to a snapshot in time, be able to show a little bit more progress on some of those goals along the way. So it's a little bit more visual for us to see the progress we're making. And so I think that if Carol, Sergi, has anything else to add? I got a thumbs up, so I guess I'm done. So that's good.
When Carol gives you a thumbs up, you're done. I like that. That's funny. Okay. Thank you. Others? Don't see any hands raised, so just come off mute and speak up.
John, I'll jump in. This is Kristen Craig from the West Central region. You know, a lot of our conversations echoed what I've heard a lot of other people saying. You know, I think we're really, although we've achieved the designation, we're still in that kind of beginning education process and making sure that everybody in our region understands what's happening. Terre Haute and Vigo County has kind of been the leader of it. Where we've struggled is bringing in some of those other more rural counties. So what we agreed on as a strategy to make that happen is engaging our local school corporations first and really having a conversation around those desired occupation growth areas and letting the conversation start there and then bringing in some of the industry leadership from those individual counties behind that as well. And then finding ways to create those partnerships across all of the county lines. So it was nice to be able to kind of have that conversation and hit the reset button a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. Appreciate all you're doing. This is so fun. Sorry, but well, I'm not sorry. It's so fun. Who wants to go next? Hey, Blair, we could do this more often.
This is Tara Barney.
Hey, Tara.
Nice to see you all. I'm going to make a comment that doesn't have much to do with our chat room because Marcia and I are handling that online. But I appreciate Andy's comment about his bi-state intentions because we share the same situation. And I just wanted to kind of keep that in front of the group that how we figure out how to do this work with for we metros that are sitting on the state lines is, I think, a nice opportunity for Indiana to be a leader in this work. So just thought I'd lob that out for the group.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about our state, where it's situated, you know, there are a lot of regions that are working bi-state and tri-state.
Yeah, so I think what that really means is how we can figure out how to get the data to merge with the great data that we're getting from the state of Indiana is going to be an opportunity for us to be more enabled.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Tara. Others?
Hi, this is Becky Hickman, and I'm from Du Bois County, and on our group we have, in our region, we have Pike, Perry, Orange, I'm going to miss them, Spencer, Perry, and perhaps Crawford County. And so we have not yet received our designation. And so we talked about scheduling a meeting with Amber to pull together our individual county and make it into the regional. So we're just kind of really on that beginning stage. We're excited that what this regional process will help with us. And we definitely have a lot of needs that we can collaborate together. So excited about the next steps.
Thank you, Becky.
It looks like we've got a few hands raised too. I
Okay.
see Kathy and then looks like Kinsley. So Kathy, maybe if you want to go and then.
Sure, thank you. Good morning. Kathy Huffman with the ECHO Network Southeast Indiana region. And I wanted to share a little bit about what we discussed because we kind of went about this a little bit different. Rather than starting with a broad regional view, we started with community dashboards and were designated with 5 different dashboards. And the goal was to then build into regional strategies, identifying what the commonalities were across those dashboards. And as we were in the process of beginning to do that, COVID hit. So everything pretty much stalled out. And what we discussed today was a lot about where we are at this point in time, the work that we were able to accomplish over the last year, and the relationships that we really need to focus on are going to be dependent on what those top 2 or 3 regional goals are. So we've set up a learning support team that's going to help us identify those, take it to the larger network, and then we'll really be spending a lot of 2021 building out those relationships. But one of our colleagues today just made the point that, you know, we really need to define the regional goals to build those regional relationships. We've already got our community goals and community relationships. So we're kind of going from the ground up.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. And there are actually several of you that are doing something similar. So and Blair, towards the end of the day today, will be introducing you to Gina Burdell, Indiana Talent Network, which many of you are part of, and you're all invited. So we can talk more about, it might be a theme. There are several themes that are emerging here. So Amber Fishfold, if you can help me, who else has their hand up?
Yeah,
Trying to watch chat.
from the east side.
Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Our group had a really great conversation. So this is the East Side Economic Recovery and Mobility District in Indianapolis. We have a lot of programs already. So we talked a bit about leveraging our existing Promise Zone committees to make sure that we're first not recreating the wheel, but also to expand capacity and achieving desired outcomes. So those people are already at the table. So how can we use that those existing relationships to further leverage our goals, but also to get all of the adult basic ed providers at a table to figure out how to create almost like a pipeline. We had a little philosophical conversation about if it should be a pipeline or a pathway or, but how do we create a seamless pipeline for, potential employees to find a career, not just a, part-time job, but an actual career in a particular industry, and to identify a comprehensive and standardized curriculum for career exploration. So how do we take the burden off of people looking for jobs and help them along the way with providing not just the technical support, but also the emotional support, whereas some people might not have had that support from other aspects in their life. So just creating that social network and social capital, as well as, monetary capital.
Thank you, Kinsley, and thank you for what you all are doing on the East Side. Just underscore what you just said about the importance of, mental health. I'm going to say this maybe slightly different, just like around mental health right now, especially now. It's always been important. We oftentimes don't want to talk about it, but yeah, technical aspects of the work we all do is important. And it's also really important to remember about the challenges that human beings are facing and that collectively we face. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. It takes a village, so.
It sure does. So we've got time for one more. I really hate to cut it off, but we're going to try to stay on time. One of our roles is to keep things on time. So Amber, is there someone else with their hand up?
I don't see anyone else with their hand up. So if anyone, again, wants to say anything, feel free. Or if you have any other questions as we kind of end this session, feel free to just take yourself off mute.
Well, anyone going? Feel like an auctioneer now, which I maybe secretly wanted to be all my life. I don't know. Let me just reflect a couple things back. First of all, we are in a different time than we were when those of you who received the designation received it. And we are in a different time than even now, this week, this month, this year, than we were when those of you who have been pursuing designation had begun that journey. Where we are now, I'm a very hopeful person, so I want you to know, because of the work you all are doing in your regions and in your communities and bringing together people from the public, the private, and the social sector, focusing not only on the technical aspects that was just mentioned a moment ago, also, and importantly, the social aspects. We are human beings. This is work about human beings. And what I really appreciated here today is thinking about the whole system and then the parts of the system that most need to be improved in order to improve the human condition. And so I'll just leave you with that. You all, and we include ourselves in this, we're here to improve the human condition, and we do that every day. When we get up, How could we be of service? When we go to sleep at night, rest well to get up and be of service the next day. So I want to thank you, each of you, for the work that you're doing. And I'm going to turn things back to Blair. You'll be hearing from Jack and me a little bit this afternoon. Most importantly, you're going to have more time to talk with each other and then share out, as we did here this morning. That in the next segment that we're going to be responsible for will be around more the quantitative, if you will. So thanks again. Appreciate it very much. Very heartwarming. Thanks for giving me hope. Appreciate it.